All right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute. We've got a pretty packed agenda here. There's quite a few things to address in our agenda. And this is what we're going to be going through on our agenda. We see that we're going to have a number of different speakers today. A lot of these sessions will also include a demo. There will be a presentation portion and a demo for a lot of that. So the agenda basically covers the API Insights. This is a new activity that we're coming out with first of next year. So we're excited about that. We're going to cover the CMDB Health Dashboard and Now Assist features that came out in Xanadu. SGC Central, which is a new product that is coming out as well. This is for Service Graph connectors. Now Assist for Service Graph connectors, which is a lot. We're putting a lot of investment in the Now Assist area, so we got a lot to talk about there. And the last section is Service Graph Connector for Wiz. Safe Harbor, we will be making some forward statements. Things like the API Insights is not released yet, so we just make sure don't make any buying decisions based on any futures we mentioned today. And for the next section, so the first speaker is Ravi. Take it over.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ravi Bansal. I lead product management in Data Foundations. Today, I am going to introduce you to a new product we are releasing in Q1 of next year, API Insights. APIs are used pervasively in every modern digital enterprise. With the adoption of microservices-based architecture, API ecosystem is wide and growing. Although adoption of APIs is growing, new challenges are emerging. There is a broad ecosystem of developer tools with API information, API gateways, DevOps platforms, observability tools, security scanners, documentations. There is no common data model to have an enterprise-wide view of APIs. Who is the owner of an API? Who are the consumers? What business applications are impacted by an APIs? There are certain API monitoring tools. However, they don't provide end-to-end context. Once you have API as a CI and CMDB, you get business context related to that API. There was a study done in 2022 asking large enterprises what aspects of API are most important to them. As you can see from this survey results, security, analytics, and governance are top 3 categories that are most important to large enterprise customers. There are 4 categories that are denoted in circle. That means in order to solve that use case, you need an API system of record. What we are planning to do at ServiceNow is to create an API system of record by bringing in API metadata from a broad ecosystem of sources, such as API gateway tools. There can be Amazon, Azure, Kong, Apigee, or API authoring tools such as Postman or MuleSoft or Dell Boomi, DevOps platforms such as GitLab, or security scanners such as No Name Traceable, Orca Security, or even observability such as Dynatrace, Datadog, Logic Monitor, or Splunk. What we are planning to do at ServiceNow is there are 4 connectors as of now, AWS, Azure, Apigee, and Kong. Those connectors bring in API metadata from different tools. So our goal is not to replace any of your existing tools you have in your ecosystem. What we plan to do is to complement and enhance those tools, provide use cases that those tools cannot provide. Then once these service graph connectors bring in API data, then we run an MLA engine to normalize that data into a common data model. So these connectors are for automation and bringing that data automatically. You can also bring in data manually if you would like, or create your custom integration if we already don't have an integration. Then once that data is in, I will show you in the demo, then you can start linking APIs to different app services and business applications, filling in the ownership information of an API. And right now, the linking of an API to app services is a manual process. Over time, we will automate that process also. Then in the second part of my demo, I will explain you the workspace in itself, where you can start seeing the enterprise-wide view of APIs. How you can search for a specific API to encourage a reusability of APIs in your organization. You start seeing the business context of an API and the mapping of that API to business applications. Then now this API is a CI in CMDB. You can start using it in incident and change. Primary use case for change is the impact analysis of a change request. So you have a change request on API, you can see the impact analysis of API, and then you can determine if this is a mission critical change or this is a normal standard change. And then you can realize different outcomes that I will share shortly with you. Essentially, this product breaks down silos between different organizations and give you a comprehensive view of APIs. Uh, the primary use case is the visibility and compliance around APIs. As the API ecosystem and adoption is growing, there are data privacy requirements related to API. Then there are security standards specifically meant for APIs. Then if you are in finance or healthcare, there are specific industry regulations for APIs. I'll give you one example. Any company that accepts consumer credit card information needs to be PCI 4.0 compliance. APIs are included in that PCI 4.0 compliance, and one of the regulations states that uh, any API that accesses credit card information needs to be deployed on a PCI compliant infrastructure. Then there are intellectual property requirements such as API licensing and ownership of that API. And as third-party API usage is growing, you want to make sure you are using the third-party API that follows these security standards and industry regulations. This is just a sneak peek into the customer feedback we have received over the last couple of months when we have shared the API Insights vision and demo to our customers. So one of the largest bank in the US, they want visibility of APIs. Shadow IT is a real thing in that organization. And they specifically want to monitor APIs that access consumer specific customer specific information. So this tool will give them ability to look at all those APIs that have access to consumer sensitive data, and then they can do regulations behind it. Uh, there is another bank in South America. They want to do impact analysis of an API. They want to bind it to an incident and alert. And then through impact analysis, they want to see what other applications may be impacted. Then another bank wants to tie back these APIs to the assets that use them. There is a cybersecurity use case as well, where if the security issue is detected on an API, you immediately want to see what's the impact for that security issue and proactively reach out to different teams that are responsible for different business applications to let them know there is a security issue. And when you roll out a new API, again, you can proactively reach out to the teams to adopt that API. So let's go to a demo now. So I'm a CMDB admin in this view, and I have three primary tasks to accomplish. One is I have set up certain connections to bring in API data, and this screen shows me the health of those connections. If there are any issues, I can go ahead and click on those specific connections and solve those issues. So that's the first. The second is I can use that wheel to check the status of connections here. So as you can see, this is my dashboard where I can see there are 3 installed connections already. There are few in drafts. I can create this, use the same screen to create a new connection. And the third is clustering. So this is data pulled in from mainly from non-structured sources such as security scanners. So these are API endpoints that have been ingested, and the ML engine is saying these endpoints belong to one specific API record. So I can go ahead and click on those endpoints and either uh, uh, accept this all of this, assign them to an existing API record or create a new API record. So these are the primary functions of a CMDB admin, managing those connections and managing the API clustering. So let's go to an enterprise architect now. I have few tasks to accomplish as an admin. So one is I go into the settings tab, and then there are API creation tool. I can write an external authoring tool such as Postman here. If I have entitlement to digital integration management, I can select that. And then API to business application relationship model. There are 2 options here. We will be deprecating the third option. So one is if you have adopted CSDM in your organization, then you start linking an API to an app service. An API application service is linked to a business application. Or if you are using DIM, then you can start linking an API to your digital interface, and digital interface is linked to business application. So in the settings tab, you make these adjustments. You can select the ownership group, and then you can start writing your own workflows as well using the flow designer, especially to grant or reject access to APIs. That's not the primary use case of the product. So let's go now. And here you can see on my dashboard that first you can start to see that there are certain APIs that are missing business applications. And that's primarily the first step. You select a specific API and you start creating relationships with the application service. So this is an application service. This is a business application to which this is connected. And you can go ahead and create that relationship here. Uh, then there are mission ownership group. You can start assigning groups. So this is particularly important when there is an incident related to an API, or you want to grant access or revoke access to specific APIs, or there can be a product models here. Uh, so that's the first step, filling in the data model with this. This is a manual process as of now. As I described earlier, we will automate this process sometime next year. And then now let's assume these are the APIs that are managed by your team. If you go here, you will see an enterprise-wide view of the APIs now. And if you go into a specific API, let's take this API for an example. So first it gives you different versions of this API record. So I'm looking at V2 now. These are the different components of this API. Now I see where exactly this has been deployed, who is managing this particular API, from where this API was discovered, who are the consumers of this API. So I can see there are two consumers and they are using basic authentication for this particular API. Um, so let's go back here. Any vulnerability items or security incident related to this API, any events or incident for this API. Now, since this will be a CI, you can start having incidents related to this API. And here, let's zoom in a little bit. Here you can start seeing how this particular API is linked to a specific application service, how that application service is linked to a business application, where this API got pulled from. What are the different components? These are essentially endpoints of this API related to this API record. You can see. So this is the end-to-end map of an API you will start seeing that no other product can provide currently. And we will be continuing to make enhancements to this experience as well. Now you can go to a previous version of this API where exactly it is being deployed. So if you want to track the usage, suppose this API has been deprecated and you can still see there are certain consumers using this API, you can proactively reach out to them and ask them to move to the new version of that API. Here, these are the different components of this API. This is the path for this API. And you can see how that component fits into the broader picture with the APIs. That's pretty much it in terms of demo.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ritika, and today I will be doing a walkthrough of a couple of key features that we have released as a part of the Xanadu release. The first topic that I'm going to be talking about is the CMDB Health Dashboard. So before I go into the dashboard itself, just some context setting. So for folks who've been using ServiceNow for a long time, they're probably aware that in the last decade, a lot of different products have released a bunch of out-of-box dashboards, and all of these dashboards were built using the legacy UX framework that we have. So in Xanadu, the goal was to take stock of all of these out-of-box dashboards that have been built over the years by different teams, and just see and validate if the dashboards are still serving the value proposition, they're still adding value to the customers with respect to the metrics that are shown, and also see and take an opportunity to see if we can improve the user experience for certain dashboards wherever it's applicable. So we within the CMDB team did the same exercise. There are a few dashboards that we ship out of box. This includes the health dashboard, our foundations dashboards, and a bunch of other dashboards that we have. So we went through each of those, and step by step, we looked at them and said, okay, we don't need to fix something just not broken. So some dashboards were migrated as is. But health dashboard was one where we sort of took this opportunity to revisit each aspect of it, the aggregates, the way the information is displayed. And we did try to simplify how the information is surfaced on that dashboard. And the new health dashboard has been rebuilt using the UI builder, and now it is a part of the CMDB workspace. Folks might be aware on this call that over the last couple of years, we have made an effort to streamline all the CMDB functionality and make it a part of CMDB workspace so that it becomes like a one-stop shop for the CMDB admin and the CMDB owner persona. So now these dashboards are also available from within the CMDB workspace. And through this simplification process, while the underlying mechanism of evaluating each CI record and evaluating the health failures remains the same, we have changed how the numbers are getting aggregated. As I was mentioning, we made some user experience changes to the dashboard. We have added breakdown of the health failure results by discovery source and ownership. And again, the idea was that once you look at which CIs have an issue, the dashboard should be easily able to tell you where is that problematic data coming from and who is responsible for managing that data. So any follow-up action can be taken on that. So without further ado, this is how the landing page for the dashboard looks like. This is just a snapshot of what it looks like. I'll switch to the instance now and we can go through the dashboard itself. So this is the workspace landing page on my demo instance. Once you come to the landing page, you'll see that the health dashboard and the relationship dashboard is available from within this page. And once you go to the dashboard, this is how the landing page looks like. As you can see, once you come to this dashboard, it's giving you the aggregate numbers at CMDB, the parent table level for the triple Cs. So completeness, correctness, and compliance score. You can see the aggregate score. The health dashboards provides the failure data, health failure data across 3 different pivots. You could look at the data at the class level. If you have health groups defined, then you can look at it at the group level or at the service level. So all of those 3 are available here. And I'm gonna just talk a little bit about what we are looking at here. So let's take correctness as an example. So the information that is being displayed here is that overall, these many CIs were evaluated for correctness checks. And out of these, 78% of the CIs have no failure across any of these 3 metrics. And the remaining 22% have some sort of a correctness failure. So now you can see that this aggregate number is super simple to grok. I can exactly understand what is going on here. If I want to see the breakdown of the score across these three pivots, I can click on this info icon here and it will show me that looks like there were no issues with CIs being orphaned or stale. It is the duplicate CI metric which has issues, and this is the amount of data that was processed. It also shows you the state of the evaluation. So if for any reason the job has run into any issues, that information gets surfaced here. Now, if I go here in the section below, what it's showing me is that for the duplicate CIs, which classes have issues, which classes have the duplicate CIs. So in this case, we have these 3 classes which have duplicate CIs being reported, and they are ordered in descending order. So the classes with the most number of failing CIs are shown on top, and then you see the data in descending order. This is the breakdown of these CIs which are failing by discovery source and by ownership. And for ownership, there are a lot of different ownership related attributes that we have on the CMDB tables. So by default, we rely on managed by group, but this is something that is configurable. So customers can, if there is any other attribute that defines ownership better for your environment, you can change the setting and it will start honoring that and showing you the breakdown according to that. So here I can see that for the computer class, we have 488 computers which have issue related to them being duplicate. This is the breakdown. If I click here, I can drill down and look into exactly what those CIs are, and the functionality related to creation of tasks, etc., remains the same. That hasn't been changed. If I'm interested in looking at CIs which belong to a particular owner or discovery source, I can use this to narrow down that number here. So here you can see that these 80 are for this particular managed by group. right? So these are the primary changes that we have made to the health dashboard. There are a lot of different configuration settings pertaining to the health dashboard. So we have made some changes, but we do have it in our roadmap to create a consolidated experience where everything comes together. So some of the configuration still sits with CI class manager. So defining health inclusion rules, defining the staleness rules, orphan rules, all of that information is still done from within CI class manager. But there's this page where it surfaces some of the system properties that might be related to the health dashboard jobs, the jobs themselves, and also if you want to activate or deactivate a certain metric, you can do it here. Like I mentioned, we want to create a holistic experience which brings all of these configuration and settings together and within the workspace, but that is sort of a roadmap item which we are hoping to get to within the next year. So this is an overview of the health dashboard. Switch back to my presentation here. So some of our customers have already upgraded to Xanadu, and we heard some feedback from some of those early adopters. The few things that have been brought to our attention are that, as you can see in this current version, we did not include an overall aggregate score. And the thought process behind that was that a lot of times key information can get obscured if you just aggregate the numbers, which inherently are measuring very different things. And that was the reason why we didn't want to like come up with a single average number, because completeness, compliance, correctness are very different metrics, right? But I do understand that a lot of customers use that overall aggregate score for use cases like auditing, compliance, reporting, and overall health score to the executive team. So we are going to bring back that aggregate score, and we are working on a Q1 update for this dashboard, which will now include that overall score. The other thing that we've heard from some customers is that the legacy way of aggregating the scores for the triple Cs, it included a way of weighted averages. And some customers do want a choice to stick to the legacy scoring mechanism or like make the transition themselves whenever they're ready for it. So with the Q1 release now, you'll get an option to now make that switch. So if you want to go with the legacy scoring mechanism, you can continue to see that within the same experience. And if you want to go with the simplified aggregate measuring mechanism, you can make that switch as well. So those are the changes that are coming in Q1. So hopefully that can help customers leverage this new experience, but also if there are certain constructs which you still want to hold on to with the legacy dashboard, you can do that. I've put some important links here, which folks might find handy as they transition to using this new health dashboard. We have the overall documentation link. We've put together an article which addresses the most frequently asked questions folks have related to the health dashboard, and also a detailed article which talks about how the new scoring mechanism works. So I'll also put these links in the chat so folks can have those handy if this is something that you might find useful. Okay, so let's transition into the next set of capabilities, which are the GenAI capabilities that we have released in Q4 for CMDB. And I think pretty much everyone on this call is probably aware of the GenAI technology, the buzz that it has created across the industry. And we in the CMDB land also wanted to take advantage of this very powerful technology stack. And the North Star for us is that we want to be able to improve the productivity of folks who live and breathe the CMDB, right? So folks who are CMDB admins, CMDB users, work with that data, work with the processes around that data. We want to make sure that this technology is leveraged to improve their productivity. And there are broadly 4 different areas which we are looking at to see how it can help these personas. So whether it's surfacing recommendations when it comes to improving the health of your CMDB, or deploying certain processes which can help with the governance of CMDB. We think that this technology can help you with that. Whether it's having sort of like a virtual assistant tool in your toolkit, which you can converse with, ask questions in natural language and get help when you need it. Whether it's search. So, I mean, CMDB data encapsulates a lot of crucial information, and you want to be able to get that information easily a lot of times by just asking questions in natural language. We want to leverage this for the search use case. And lastly, CMDB has a lot of impact in organization, I mean, both depth and breadth wise, but a lot of times you need to get key pointers and get started from there and then dig deep if you want. So summarization is another sort of area where this technology can help. So these are the broad areas where we are looking to use this and, like I said, give value to these personas. And with the Q4 release, we are just getting our feet wet. This is a long journey, and I'm hoping that we can keep on improving and releasing more and more analysis skills which can help these personas. But I'll talk through the 2 skills that we have released as a part of our Q4 store app release. The first skill that we have is related to managing duplicate CIs, and this is again under the theme of improving the overall CMDB health. So if you are a customer on, again, customers can vary a lot in their spectrum of where they are with respect to managing the duplicate CIs, right? We have folks who have duplicate CIs and tasks in their system, but they don't actively do anything about it, to folks who are mature enough to adopt the latest and greatest tooling we have, which is the de-duplication wizard, which lets you like create templates at a class level and like remediate duplicate dedupe tasks at large in bulk using that, right? So you could be anywhere in that spectrum, and what we want is for a CMDB user to just go to Now Assist, and if they have any questions related to duplicate CIs, the skill can sort of give them insights into what is the state of their system with respect to duplicate CIs, and help them in understanding what's going on, what is the underlying root cause, and nudge them towards leveraging a tool like dedupe admin. So I'll switch to my instance now and give a walkthrough of what the skill looks like. So here, for instances which are Now Assist enabled, you see a small sparkle icon on top, which allows you to launch the Now Assist panel. So when I launch the panel now here, any question I ask related to duplicate CIs, this skill gets triggered. So in this case, I'm going to say I want to manage the duplicate CIs. And what Nowsys does is it will take a look at the state of your CMDB, and it will show you what are the unresolved duplicate tasks broken down by classes. So on my instance, I have a bunch of different dedupe tasks for these classes. I have computer, Linux server, and Windows server. So let's say I want to look at Linux server first and see what's going on with the Linux server. Once I select the class, it gives me a few options. I can go ahead and I can go to the list of actual tasks that are there. And then from here, I can either create a new dedupe template, or I can, looks like there is an existing template, I can leverage that, or I can review the root cause. So in this case, I'm first interested in understanding why these were marked as duplicate in the first place. I'm going to say I want to review the root cause. So in this case, it's telling me that the root cause is that all of these CIs have the same value for the criterion attribute name, which is defined in the IRE rule called the hardware rule identifier, right? And the CIs, the source of these CIs are discovery, and then looks like somebody manually imported some CIs and they don't have a discovery source set, right? So this makes it easy for me to just understand the underlying pattern, like what is going on, why were these CIs marked as duplicate in the first place, right? So this is helpful. Now, let's say I want to go back to the class selection. And in this time, I will look at the computer class. Same thing, it is giving me an option to go to the list of tasks that I have, or I can review root cause, look at the templates. So this time, let's look at the existing templates. So there's an existing template here. I am going to select that template. And from here, I can review the template itself if I just want to first understand what is this template doing. So here, this is the template. It shows me the details of what are the settings for this template, which CI will get picked as the main CI when the tasks get resolved, and what is it going to do with relationship records, related items, and so on and so forth. So if the template looks good to me, I can go ahead and just inline select this template and remediate all those tasks using this template. So that's it. Now all those 24 tasks will be remediated using this template, and I was able to take this action in line, right? So you can see how the skill has been created, right? It's a conversational flow. It can help the admin persona who's responsible for taking care of these tasks towards just understanding what's going on and taking actions using the skill. Okay. The next skill that we have delivered with the Q4 release is the CI summarization skill. So again, the goal with this one was that we are working towards developing like a holistic search solution so that if you go to, let's say, the global search and analysis panel and you quickly type in, for instance, the name of a CI or an identifier such as a serial number, and you want to quickly get to that CI record using that information, you can just type that in and it should give you the information about that CI up front, right? So the goal of CI summary was that if I take the name of this server, for example, I type it in, it can give me key information about that CI, that, okay, which class that CI belongs to, who owns that CI, when was it last discovered, which discovery source is responsible for bringing in that CI, and then again, like the blast radius of that CI, right? Are there any incidents? Are there any open changes? If I'm using event management, are there any critical open alerts that I should be aware of? Are there any vulnerabilities reported on that? And which application services that CI belongs to? So I can get the key information quickly by using this skill. And then if I need to do a deep dive, I can always go to the record and do that, right? So while we are working on this search, for now, we've made this skill available on the CI form itself. So both within the workspace and within the UI 16 form, you'll see that there is a summarize button, and it can quickly give you this information once you click on the summarize button. So in this case, I'm on a storage server record. As you can see, some of the related information isn't really configured on the form. So I click the summary button and it's telling me that this storage server was last discovered on this date, and it was discovered by this discovery source. It is managed by this group. Right now, there are 4 open incidents of different criticalities. There is one PRB, there are no change requests, and it belongs to one application service, right? So you can see that while I'm searching for a CI, if I had this key information available quickly, it can be pretty useful. So that's the summarization skill. With regards to pricing and licensing, we released the analysis for CMDB app through Store and Q4. And for any customer who has access to any of the technology workflow Pro Plus SKUs, so whether it's the ITOM Pro Plus SKU, ITSM, TSOM, SIR Pro Plus SKU, any of those SKUs, you'll be entitled to download this app and enable these skills. And you do need to have the SNCMDB user role to be able to leverage these skills. That brings me to the end of the content.
So we are pretty excited to show this product to you guys today. So before getting into this product, it's very important to understand what are service graph connectors. So I would like to refresh your memory. So service graph connectors are API-based plugins that help you ingest data from third-party sources into CMDB that power business-facing applications like ITSM, SAM, HAM, and so on. So there has been huge adoption of service graph connectors, but we're also seeking consistent feedback from our customers, what challenges they're facing. So the key theme that have emerged is management of these connectors as customers are building more and more connections. So management is becoming difficult. So we have come up with a new concept called as Service Graph Connector Central, or SGC Central in short, which provides a unified experience for managing the full life cycle of service graph connectors, starting from discovery, installing the connectors, creating connections, configuring import schedules, diagnosing the connection's health or the import executions, and then how you go about debugging these issues. So here are three key benefits that we're providing with Service Graph Connector Central. One is faster onboarding of connectors, where as compared to SGC legacy, where user has to go to different places to add in configuration details, to configure import schedules. So it's a step-by-step process where for any one connector, user can configure everything in a single flow. Secondly, we are providing an out-of-the-box dashboard, which user can look at and get to know about the connections which are working well, which are not working well. How are my data import executions looking like? Do I need to focus on any specific connection where execution is not going well? And then thirdly, faster debugging of errors, where user had to be an Uber expert to know about different kind of errors and know about the tables where he can find the issues. So here we are bringing all the information upfront so that on a single click, user can get to the error logs. So we are moving from fragmented experience in SGC legacy, where user has to go to different places to do various things. For example, discovering connectors or installing connectors, or setting up the connection and monitoring them, to a unified experience in Central, where you can cover the whole life cycle of managing connections under a single umbrella. So let's go to the product and see things in action. So if you see, I'm in CMDB workspace, and this is a 6 tab that you see as SGC Central. So on the left, you see different modules, for example, overview, all connections, and explore connectors, integration hub, ETL, and settings. So the starting point of connector lifecycle is exploration. Let's say there is a ham admin and he requests CMDB admin that I'm looking to fetch data for devices, and can you please install Intune? So what CMDB admin is going to do is going to go to explore connectors and see if Intune is available as an entitled connector. So I will just go here and click to application manager, and I will find if Intune is available. So Intune is available here, and I will just see this connector, and I can initiate installation of this connector. So I will let it run in background. So as this connector is being installed, and if it get installed, it will start showing up in already installed connectors. So you can have a look what all connectors have been installed. And even for connectors, we keep on releasing new upgrades, new versions to those connectors. So you won't miss out these updates, because you can come to this screen and see, for example, for Tanium, there's an update available. So you can explore, okay, this is a, installed version is this, and there's a new version available. You can test it out in your environment, test environment. And if you're good, you can even upgrade your production environment. So let me go to all connections and try to show you how you install a connection. So Intune is already installed in this instance. So I will show you how you can actually create a connection within a minute. So here, a bunch of connectors that have been installed by the user. So let's say I'm interested in creating a connection for Intune. So I will select Intune and click on create connection. So I will give it a name. Okay, Intune demo 1, 2, and I'm going to fill these credits. So I will just stop sharing my, pause my screen so that I could add these details without any risk. So I'm just filling client ID and the secret. And then further, I'm filling in a tenant ID. So I will resume my sharing as well. Okay, so I've filled my details. I've added client ID and the secret and um, the tenant ID, and I will try to create my connection here. So connection is verified. We are all good. So we can move to the next step, which is setting up import schedule. So here I can, I can leave out of my connection installation process anytime I want. For example, I have some other work, so I can always come in the draft and I can resume my setup from there. So we were doing Intune demo 12. So I will resume my setup and I will set up my import schedule. I will just activate that. So let's say you want to have this data on weekly basis on Monday, 2100 hours. So I can just save this frequency and move to the next step. And then this connection has been installed. Let's go to all connections and see. So Intune demo 12 is my list. So there are two tabs here. One is installed. So all these connections are installed. And you can see the associated metadata, which talks about that what state the connection is in. So we have connection status and the processing status. And you also see for what all installed connections, import schedule is an active state. And then as things change over time, you can always come to this connection and try to change the creds or the import schedules to further optimize your performance and even look at the errors if there are errors in the import execution. So it's a single place where you can have a look at everything in regard to a specific connection. So now there are a bunch of settings that I did at the connection level, but there are a few global settings as well, which applies to all the connections. So for all these connectors, there can be a bunch of global properties which you want to set. So here is a way that, for example, for AWS, these are all global properties which apply to all the connections. So you can set them up in the system properties in the settings tab. And also we have Integration Hub ETL, where you can further transform the mappings by looking into the ETL definition of each and every data source as you want. So it will take you to the ETL definition page. So let's come to our overview. So this is the most important, most important module of our product, where you can actually see how your connections are working, if they're in error state or they're going good. And same applies to your import executions, how they're happening. So here, looking at the screen on the first day, like at the first thing in my overall work day, so I can come here and see what connections are not working. So I can really focus on those connections. And I can even look at the processing status and see if I need to do anything. So I gave example of Intune. Let's say there is a policy, key rotation policy attached. So that means the creds are not going to work when that rotation happens. So we proactively keep on checking the connection of that of Intune connections and populate that if there is an error, so that you could proactively see there is an issue with my connection rather than wait and let the processing fail. So there is a proactive measures that you can take by looking at the health of this connection and try to improve the connection health. Moving on, you can have a look at details at the import set level for all the connections for last 7 days, and further you can slice and dice data depending on the connector type. Let's say for AWS, you want to see overall for all the AWS connections, how data is coming in through. You want to analyze import set rows being ingested, and then you want to see from AWS what kind of classes are getting updated, or CI records are being added. And then you want to see the trends over time and the errors as they're going through, as data is being ingested from AWS. And we have an error breakdown as well. So let me reset my filter and show you error breakdown as well. So where across these 3 categories, you can actually analyze that what kind of error I'm getting most in certain type of connection or overall. So it will help you it will give you better visibility in terms of what issues you're facing more and with respect to what connector type. So this is also as part of the demo.
Yes. Hi, I'm Shanay. I am product manager in SGC, and I'm going to talk about the GenAI capability that we're introducing for the SGC. And so this capability is diagnosing a service graph connector. And in the past, if you have did troubleshooting on any of the connectors, what you do is that you figure out where the errors are located, you figure out the import sets details, then you look at what the errors are. There would be a bunch of errors, and then you would search through the documentation or the support articles to know whether is there a solution for this error you are resolving. And these errors could appear when you set up a connector, or they could appear runtime whenever something breaks out. So I'm going to show it in action how we are solving this problem using the Now Assist. So here I am in the CMDB workspace. When I'm in the CMDB workspace, I have this option of Now Assist, a sparkle icon. When I click on it in the CMDB workspace, I will see skill diagnose a service graph connector. Here I can just type in any of the connectors that I'm looking to diagnose. It's a conversational way. I could type in response. I could also type in, if I know the details of the data source or the connection or the import set, I could just type in. Usually it understands but if there's a problem that it won't understand. If you're not exactly correct, then you can choose the connector from the list. And once you choose, it will show you that which are the data sources for which it has shown failures, and you can choose to diagnose any particular data source. And once I click on that, it will also show me the list of which import set the failure was occurred recently. Or if you want to look at the past data and see where all the other failures were occurring, you can choose the other option. Right now, I'm going to go via this particular import set, which was failed recently. And I just put in the details that, hey, I want to diagnose this error. I am expecting this Now Assist. It will give me the error that was occurring. So it provided me the error here that, hey, it was not able to connect and it returned the 401 error. What it also will do is that we will search the knowledge base to see if there is any particular recommendation on how to solve this error. And as you see, it Now Assist have generated a recommendation that this is how you solve it. If I would like a more detail about it, I could click this article and it will show me the complete details about this particular error and its use. Of course, this is generated by AI through search. So we would recommend we would look at this KB to understand more detail and then only make the necessary changes to make the connection work in progress.
Let's switch over to our next presenter. Daniel, are you ready?
Of course. Hello, everyone. Daniel Guidi here, Product Manager for Service Graph Connector. And today I present you Service Graph Connector for Wiz, one of the most interesting connectors we have developed this year. So I apologize in advance for my voice. The seasonal flu took it away, but my fiance finds it quite charming, so I hope you will too. Now, why do we need Service Graph Connector for cloud? We need it because good management of cloud assets are critical for operations, security, compliance, and cost management at scale. And why Wiz specifically? Because Wiz is a cloud security platform that since its founding 4 years ago has more than 45% of the Fortune 500 of the Fortune 100 in its trusted clients. And even in July, they have turned down a buyout offer from Google of $23 billion. Even our own connector, since the launch in May, has had 45 installations sub-prod and 7 in prod. So, Service Graph Connector offers a gateway to connect to Wiz and get its cloud inventory into ServiceNow CMDB, pulling data from cloud environments with minimal credential requirements. This will help customers to manage AWS, Azure, GCP resources from the ServiceNow instance, with no agent required to pull in the data, and of course, all Service Graph Connector are CSDM compliant, bringing a standardized format across the whole database. With Service Graph Connector for Wiz, we empower a series of use cases. For example, visibility into cloud resources and state in near real time. For example, what are the relationships between servers, infrastructures, and storage? We help to streamline security responses by correlating IT and security data. For example, which teams owns what, which business unit will be impacted by certain change. And all of this to empower a variety of use cases such as SecOps, vulnerability response, and incident management. Now, I will switch to a very quick demo in which I will show the data that are featured in Service Graph Connector. This is an example of one of the classes that we pull to Service Graph Connector for Wiz. We are in the virtual machine instance, in which we see object ID, CPU, disk, class, and so on.
Just a quick thing,
Mhm.
Daniel, there is something blocking your screen, your share on the right-hand side. Can
Oh,
you
okay, is the Zoom itself. All right.
Yeah, so just miniaturize that section and then we can see the full screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then, for example, we have servers with the object ID, the classes, the operation status, the CPU count, and the Kubernetes clusters, with its different identifiers. All of these sources, of course, are cohesive coherent with the lab itself we have in Wiz. For example, if we look on Ubuntu on the virtual machines, just a sec. Okay, there it is. For example, if we open the CI, we will see the different relationships in the CI and a series of data. For example, the CPU, the disk, the memory, the megabytes, and the different relations. For example, where it is hosted, or where it's provisioned, and where it is virtualized. If we open our Wiz platform, in which, as you can see, we have the virtual machine hosted in Azure, we find the same machine, Ubuntu One, which is indeed sits on Azure. It has Linux as operating system, and it has the same memory and the CPUs. This is just an example. All the data that we pull through Service Graph Connector for Wiz, it's visible in our own product documentation. Here you will have the complete list of all the tables and the different attributes that we populate. And this goes on, for example, we have the virtual machine instance, we have the Linux server, the Kubernetes pod, and even AWS and Azure data centers. So, to finish the presentation, we have seen a simple and straightforward integration of Service Graph Connector for Wiz and ServiceNow. We have seen how we are compliant with the common service data model, bringing a standardized format across the CMDB that is also consistent with the other cloud connectors. We pull data on a variety of assets from VMs to Kubernetes clusters, covering the majority of cloud providers, for example, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And all of this updates your CMDB with cloud inventory and power use cases such as SecOps, vulnerability responses, and incident management. So this is all I have for you. Thank you for your attention.
But thank you for joining, and thank you for the presenters. This was very well handled by everybody. Appreciate your attendance, and have a great day or evening.